Hold it right there.
I need you to come with me.
Congrats on this series. Reading up about you before this interview, your journey with Warner Brothers has been pretty extensive. It goes back a decade to being in the Warner Brothers Television Writers Workshop. I would love for you to just kind of walk my audience through that journey, what that process was like with the team, and what it felt like to evolve to now running your own series.
Oh my goodness, that blast from the past. Yes, it was incredible. The Warner Brothers Writers Workshop was a wonderful vehicle to sort of learn what it's like to work in a writer's room. When I was there, Peter Roth was the president of the studio, and I remember him coming in and giving us this great speech about the type of television shows that we should be trying to make. And it was really about like looking at the landscape and trying to find things that you don't see. And so that is sort of the impetus for how we started to talk about Duster. We were like, what are the shows that we haven't gotten a chance to see in a while? And so we started talking about these great 70s and 80s throwbacks, those shows that, gave you that action, that comfort food feel. And so that was really how we landed on Duster.
Yeah. And do you find yourself still borrowing skills that you learned in those early writers workshop in a series like Duster?
I do. Yes, we learned how to break story, how to write outlines, how to write our scripts, and of course the Warner Brothers Writers Workshop is how I got my first job on Shameless. So you never forget your first job. And working with John Wells was an incredible learning experience. Like, he's literally one of the best showrunners working in the business, and so to have him as my first boss, he sort of infused me with lots of great habits, and so I've taken all of that with me.
Yeah, you continue to have amazing partners on this series. You collaborated with JJ Abrams to bring it to life. Could you kind of talk to me about what that process was like with JJ, what he was like as a storytelling partner?
Oh my God, he's such a great storytelling partner. I mean, he is, of course, everyone knows he's such a great director, but he's such a brilliant writer as well. And, he'd read a couple of my scripts and he was really excited about them. And so when we had that first initial meeting, he said, hey, one of your scripts really reminds me of this image that I've had in my head for 20 years. And that was the image of the phone booth in the middle of the desert. And he said, this muscle car drives up to it. And he said, I think Josh Holloway gets out. He's like, but that's all I've got. And so it was this crazy meeting where he just says this random idea and I start throwing out and pitching, who this character could be and why is he there. And we just started, it was like jazz. We just were bouncing ideas off of each other. And in that moment, we decided we wanted to work on the show together and we just started building it from there.
That's a beautiful origin. You're obviously referencing Jim, the character that Josh plays.
Yes.
The other series lead is Nina, played by Rachel. And Nina in this series is the first Black woman to be an FBI agent. In the real world, this series takes place in 1972. In the real world, it was Sylvia Matthysse in 1976. How much of her story influenced the character of Nina?
She was definitely a touchstone for us. Sylvia Matthysse has an incredible career. And in 1972 is when they first started letting women into the FBI. So it was a combination of, Sylvia Matthysse, the women of the FBI, and we talked to several FBI consultants who talked to us about their journeys. One of them specifically was a Black woman who worked in the FBI in the late 70s and early 80s. So we were really able to get what was the authentic story, and we really tried to infuse Nina's story with that.
Very much so. Well, something that's fun about JJ Abrams' storytelling, stuff that I've seen before with Lost and what he even did with the Star Wars movies, is a lot of it relies on kind of the cliffhanger ending. Could you kind of speak to telling this story? I don't want to say fully linear, but there are elements here where we have questions that get answered or they get asked mid-season that we didn't even know were questions at episode 1. So you could kind of touch on that storytelling structure that you guys developed.
Yeah, we just always wanted to have the audience lean into the story. So we wanted them to be active participants in it so they can actually be paying attention, putting clues together. And then, of course, have some twist at the end. We're like, wait, the things that I thought happened before, maybe I need to rethink those. So we're all about active viewers, for us. And, I just am a big fan of that type of storytelling. I love when the story takes me places I didn't think I was going to go, especially because as a writer, that's all I do is think about story. So I love being surprised.
Yeah, I love when a show has repeat value too, because like I watched the first couple episodes, and then after knowing some stuff in the mid-season, you go back and watch the beginning, and it changes completely based on the knowledge you get later on. Obviously, the show is a huge labor of love. It's been in development for like 5 years. I believe I read that some of the first meetings were taking place in 2020, and you fought through the actor strike and all that. I want to ask you about another project that you had on the books as of 2022, Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
You were tasked to write the script. Are you still writing the script? And if so, do you have any idea about when we're going to hear casting announcements, stuff like that?
Oh, good question. Yes, I'm done writing the script, and it is with the studio, and we have a wonderful director who's attached, and we're very close to getting it there. So I can't say fully, but we're getting close. We're getting close, and my work is done. It was a blast to work on that. I'm a big fan of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Very much so. I'd love to also ask on that front. This is like a huge title. It's a huge property.
Yes,
I know you obviously you worked on The Walking Dead before, but you've also done some originals throughout your career. What does that responsibility feel like, being the one to pen the script for the next iteration of Night of the Living Dead?
It was huge. I actually said no several times because I revere it so much. It's like one of the cornerstones of horror, and so I'm a big horror fan. I'll say there's certain titles you don't touch. But his family, they asked me to rewatch the movie and to see if I could come up with anything, and an idea sparked. So I was like, oh no, I got to do this now. So I pitched it to them, and they really loved it. And then we took it to the studio, and thankfully there were a bunch of different places that were interested. And so now we're at Amazon and MGM, and hopefully there'll be a movie soon.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fruitful couple of years for you. Obviously, Duster coming out on Max on May 15th. You did a phenomenal job with this series. I'm super excited to see what you got cooking when it comes to the zombie world in a couple of years, whenever that does come out. LaToya, truly an honor. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. This was great.
You ever see Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid? You want to be Newman or Redford?
Newman.